It was supposed to be the easiest paycheck of his life. The building sat in the heart of a dead industrial district, a towering 7-story structure that once housed a corporate headquarters for some long-forgotten logistics firm. Now, it was just concrete bones and empty echo chambers. At least, that's what the company told him. It had been purchased by a private security firm and retrofitted with surveillance equipment, motion sensors, and a few emergency lights on each floor. The task? Monitor the cameras, walk each floor once, report any break-ins. That was it. The man, a solitary figure in his late 30s, with no family and few attachments, signed the contract with barely a second thought. He'd spent the last few years drifting between night shifts, hospital janitor, warehouse loader, delivery driver. Sleep was a stranger, and the dark didn't scare him. But this building would. The security office was in the basement, buried beneath concrete thicker than most fallout shelters. It had no windows, just a bolted metal door, an old desk, a wall of grainy black and white monitors, and a logbook. At 10 p.m. on his first night, the elevator dinged open on the ground floor. He stepped in, badge clipped to his chest, flashlight at his hip. He scanned the call buttons. All floors were functional except for the 7th, which was blacked out and labeled "No Access." That wasn't unusual in abandoned buildings. Maybe it had water damage, or they just hadn't bothered cleaning it out. The note in his training guide didn't say much, just "Avoid 7th floor, under renovation." At 10:15 p.m., he began his first sweep. The ground floor was cold and smelled faintly of rust and mildew. The tile floor clicked under his boots, and each step seemed louder than the last. Rows of empty cubicles stretched into the shadows, partitions lined with old calendars and brittle, sticky notes. He caught movement out of the corner of his eye once, just a flicker, but when he turned, nothing was there. Only a printer light blinking faintly, as if waiting to come alive. By the time he reached the 2nd floor, something felt off. The air was denser here. Not warmer or colder, just heavy, like a storm brewing indoors. His flashlight picked up smudges on the walls, greasy handprints that weren't in any pattern, just random, like someone had stumbled past in a hurry. He checked the logbook to confirm, no maintenance scheduled. He tapped his earpiece, but the static was louder than before. At 11:30 p.m., he returned to the basement and sat before the monitors. All 6 floors, clear, all sensors, green. He leaned back and stared at the blank spot where the 7th floor feed should have been. The square was just black, no label, no camera ID. He hovered the mouse over it, but nothing happened. When he clicked, the entire monitor system refreshed, and the black square blinked white for a split second. Just long enough for him to see someone standing in the hallway of the 7th floor. He froze. No one was supposed to be there. He replayed the feed. Nothing. He tried again. Still nothing. At midnight, he began his 2nd round, 3rd floor this time. The lights on this floor were dimmer, as if the electricity didn't quite reach it. The ceiling tiles had water damage, and he noticed several open doors down the hallway. Offices, break rooms, all dark inside. He didn't linger, but when he turned to check the hallway behind him, he saw something at the far end. Not a person, just a shape. A silhouette leaning slightly to one side, as though it couldn't stand properly. He blinked, and it was gone. He walked the rest of the floor faster. On the 4th floor, the computers were still running. That stopped him. Each screen displayed a login prompt, but the usernames were all the same. Sleep. He touched the keyboard on one. It was ice cold. He checked his watch. 12:46 a.m. He shivered and moved on. 5th floor. A conference room was open. Inside, the long table had deep scratches carved into the wood, almost like someone had clawed at it. In the corner of the room was a chair that faced the wall, and it was slowly turning on its own. He left the 5th floor before it made a full rotation. At 1:30 a.m., he returned to the security room. This time, one of the cameras on the 3rd floor was flickering. Camera 3C. The hallway it displayed was the same one he'd walked earlier. Now it was completely dark, but the static fuzz cleared just long enough to show a door at the far end swinging slowly. Open, Closed, open, closed. He leaned forward, watching. That's when he saw it. A face, pale, stretched, and hovering upside down at the top corner of the screen, not looking at the hallway, looking directly into the camera. Then the feed cut. He didn't move for a long time. By 2:30 a.m., the motion sensors began to fail. One by one, each floor began blinking red for activity. But when he reviewed the footage, the floors were empty. Except for one thing. Every time he fast-forwarded, more doors on each floor were open than before. Slowly, over the course of hours, it was like something unseen was moving through the building, opening rooms, letting something out. He made the mistake of glancing at the 7th floor feed again, still black, until it blinked again. And this time, he saw something crawling, something pale and long-limbed, moving like it didn't have bones. He pulled his badge, turned off the monitors, and grabbed his flashlight. He should have left then, should have walked out, thrown his badge into the street and never looked back. But the building wouldn't let him go. Not yet. At 3 a.m., he began hearing sounds in the walls. It started as soft tapping, irregular and too random to be a pipe or mechanical fault. Tap, tap, scratch. Sometimes it was close, right behind the drywall next to him. Other times it echoed through the ceiling like something dragging itself across the floor above him. He sat motionless in the security room, back stiff, ears straining to isolate direction. The cameras were worse now. Most of the feeds showed only static or slow frame freeze imagery. Occasionally, a figure would flicker across the screen, a shadow without source, too thin to be human, gliding across the floor as if skating over it. It never walked. It never turned. And then one of the monitors showed the stairwell door on the 6th floor opening. Slowly, mechanically, on its own. He didn't see anyone come through, but a second later, another door opened. Then another. By 3:15 a.m., the entire 6th floor was marked with motion sensor activity, but none of the cameras showed movement, only the doors opening. That was the last time the monitors worked properly. Everything after that dissolved into static and digital warping. The audio feed crackled with low, guttural noises, something like breathing, but drawn out and layered. Wet. He locked the security room door and sat down, flashlight clutched like a weapon. And then the lights cut out, all of them. Only the faint red emergency bulb above the desk stayed lit, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. The power outage hadn't triggered the backup generator. He would have heard it. The hum that had accompanied the building since his arrival was gone. No HVAC, no fan, just silence. Then came the footsteps. Not walking, exactly. Stumbling. A wet, dragging gait. He heard them outside the security room. Slow, deliberate, not pacing, not checking, searching. He turned off the flashlight and held his breath. The sound moved past the door, then stopped, right outside. He didn't move for 10 minutes. The footsteps didn't resume. Not until he flicked his eyes to the monitor out of instinct and saw the 7th floor feed working again. The camera view had changed. It now faced a hallway full of doors, metal ones, no handles, sealed shut. Bright fluorescent lights flickered above, and standing in the center of the frame was himself. His back, same badge, same flashlight, facing one of the doors. But he wasn't on the 7th floor. He hadn't gone there. He turned around slowly, sweat soaking through his uniform. The camera still showed him. Standing, reaching for the door in the frame. He looked at the time on the monitor, 3:33 a.m. Then the feed glitched. For a brief moment, the camera showed all the doors on the 7th floor open. Mouths, dark and yawning. He turned off the screen. He couldn't stay in the security office. Whatever was outside had gone quiet, but he knew it hadn't left. At 3:45 a.m., he stepped into the hallway and began walking to the elevator. The building felt different now. No sound, not even the hum of distant streetlights through the walls. It was as if the entire structure had been lifted from the world and placed into a vacuum. He pressed the elevator button. It opened immediately. The inside lights flickered, casting his reflection in sharp angles against the mirrored walls. He saw something else in the reflection, something standing behind him. But when he turned, he was alone. He didn't press a floor. The elevator began to rise on its own, past floor 1, 2, 3. He slammed the control panel. Nothing responded. The buttons had no lights. It climbed to 4, then 5. He pounded the emergency stop. Nothing. At floor 6, it paused. The doors opened. Darkness beyond. A single emergency light flickered at the end of the hallway. He didn't step out. He wouldn't, but the doors didn't close. Instead, a cold wind blew inside the elevator, impossible wind. And then came the sound, a screech, not mechanical, organic, like a throat full of water tearing itself open. The kind of sound that doesn't come from lungs, but from the deep, empty place behind them. He reached for his flashlight, but something else reached faster. A pale hand shot into the elevator from the left, slapping the wall beside him. Long fingers, no nails, skin stretched too tight. He screamed inside, body frozen, as the hand groped blindly.